Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we're going to delve into a subject that's pretty difficult to talk about because the implications of it are very terrifying when you think about it. It's the potentiality that what's happening here with these aliens is that they're slowly absorbing humankind via this hybridization program that's talked about by some researchers. And that right now on this planet, sprinkled among us are these what look like human beings, but they're not. They're partly humans and they're partly aliens, and they're here for some purpose yet to be revealed. This is a lot of different researchers, including most notably David M. Jacobs, the retired Temple University professor, have talked about this. He's someone who has researched this. Unlike you and I, he's someone who has interviewed well over 1,000 different people who claim to have been abducted by aliens, and he put them under regressive hypnosis. And after many decades, he's reached some conclusions as to what the aliens' game is. And the game doesn't sound good. It sounds, from his point of view, it seems like they want to take this whole shebang over, without us knowing about it. Basically, a clandestine operation to absorb humankind via a hybridization program. And right now, right among us, according to Jacobs, there are what look like people. They look just like you and me, and you wouldn't think anything of them if you saw them in a grocery store or at the post office or wherever, driving your car down the street. It wouldn't matter. You wouldn't be able to recognize them as anything else but a fellow human being, but they're not. According to Jacobs, he calls these hybrids. They're the ultimate hybrid, basically. They look just like human beings, but they're not. They're half human and half alien creature. And if he's correct, then where do you start to try to study this? Where do you start to try to figure out what the end game is? Where do you start to try to maybe put a halt to it? I don't even know if there is anywhere to start. I don't even know if that's even a possibility at all. I don't think there's. The more you think about it, the more you begin to realize, wow, I don't think there's anything we could do about this if it is true. But again, I'm not the expert on this. People like David M. Jacobs, he's an expert on this. He's somebody who studied it, along with other people, Bud Hopkins, the late Bud Hopkins, the late John Mack. A lot of different people have researched this over the years, and it seems like the conclusion here is that it's not a good thing, basically, particularly when you read Jacobs. I talk a lot about his book, The Threat, and also this one, Walking Among Us. And I just want to read a little segment from here where he talks about hybrids. He says, hybrids are the ultimate weapon in taking over the planet. And this is from page 251 of Walking Among Us. They are likely building up their numbers in the human population. If hybrids living on Earth mate with humans, they may, like abductees, be producing hybrids who will be absorbed by society and will themselves create more hybrids. It is also possible that their already socialized hybrid parent may allow the hybrid child to live within Earth's societies while keeping his abilities a secret. It is unknown how many hybrids are necessary to reach a population density at which they can dominate a society, but they are growing unimpeded and on a grand scale. These features make up most of the abduction program. The program is secret. It is efficient and effective. It is complex yet elegant in its execution and concept. It is self-replicating, using an increasingly expanding workforce that will create beings who will clandestinely infiltrate society until a critical mass is reached and aliens can control human society. So you have to ask yourself questions like, how far away are they from reaching this critical mass? Inquiring minds would like to know. And I don't know. I don't see what we could possibly do about this if this is true. What do you do? I mean, I guess it's one thing to talk about it, but I guess it's another thing to try to figure out if there's anything that we could do to stop it. Do we want to stop it? Is there any way to stop it? I don't know if that's possible. How would you stop something like this? If you have a race of beings that is technologically superior to you in every single way imaginable, and they are getting away with this for apparently decades now. I mean, this book was written almost 10 years ago, so you have to wonder where they are now. I mean, since he's written this book. And I don't even know where you would begin. I mean, is it possible that maybe a group of these hybrids, basically beings that look just like us, they could, if you saw them anywhere, grocery store, post office, wherever, they're going to look, you're not going to think twice. There's just another fellow human being there, but they're up to something and they're just here, sprinkled among us. And you know what? What's really interesting when you read this book by Jacobs, he talks about how these beings are able to conform to our society, and basically they actually, abduct these, in addition to having their sperm or eggs removed, right, to create in service to this hybridization program. In addition to that, they're also brought in, some of them, to teach these hybrids how to behave in our society. And they do this. Apparently, the only way they know that they're doing this is because later on, when they're under hypnosis, they remember. I mean, basically, they'll have hybrids will come to your house, or you'll go to one of their houses that they have, and you're going to show them how to cook food in a kitchen, all kinds of things. You're going to show them how to drive a car, but then you're not going to. And you're an abductee showing them this stuff. Then you're not going to remember it later on, unless you go to someone like David M. Jacobs and you go under hypnotic regression and you remember it all. But that's the kind of stuff, apparently, that's been going on all around us, and here we just don't realize it. We're just all stupid to this. And think about it. If it's really happening, what do you do about it? I mean, where do you even begin? I don't even know. I mean, here's another issue with it. I mean, you think about the control group, the secret control group that's keeping this covered up. I mean, right now you have people in the House and the Senate, elected representatives, talking about this a lot more. Of course, we just had that recent hearing in the House committee hearing, where you had people like Lou Elizondo and Tim Gallaudet, testifying under oath about the reality of the reverse engineering and crash retrieval programs, and the fact that there are people in the government that know that we're not alone, right? There are people in the government that know that we're not alone, and they're keeping this a secret, right? These guys are testifying about this under oath. But it has to make you wonder, if these aliens have the ability to create these hybrids, look just like us, how do we not know that that's who's that's who's controlling the control group itself, that they are mostly the gatekeepers themselves? How do we know that they haven't infiltrated that? How do we know, for instance, that a lot of these alleged UFO crashes that occurred over the years, how do we know that they weren't just Trojan horses, and that then it was a way for this alien presence to figure out who's in charge in this country, for instance? How do we know that that's not the case, and they've been behind the scenes pulling the strings all these years? And presidents and other elected officials, they don't know the whole story. They're given a little bit of stuff to, hey, but you can't, about what the truth is, but they're told you can't say anything beyond that because of this, and this, right? But really, the reason is because as the aliens took control of the control group a long time ago, they're the ones pulling the strings. How do we know? Because you wouldn't know, right? Because the people in the government are just like you and me. They're human beings, right? And if these hybrids have the same abilities as the aliens who created them, the telepathic abilities, the abilities to control people mentally, right? Then that means they could mentally walk right into the Pentagon and mentally control some of the people working there and have them do whatever they want, right? That's what that would mean. That's why it gets really complicated. This whole topic, this whole ufology issue, right, becomes extremely complicated when you start thinking about this potential hybridization program. And again, it probably is real, right? Because look at, for one thing, a lot of the people that have been interviewed, the people the people who have gone under hypnotic regression under people like Jacobs and Bud Hopkins and so on and so forth, a lot of those people, they're recalling, the short grays, the tall grays, the insect kind of creatures. Sometimes they see reptilian sort of creatures, and it's always the same story, right? They're brought into a craft. There's an examination. There's some procedures, and then they're put back in where they were found, and that's it. And then they forget about it. But maybe they lost time, and that's why they ended up in Jacob's office in the first place. And then they realize, oh, okay, now I remember. Now it's coming back to me. Now I understand why I have all these marks on my body and all of that, right? But the problem is like, what do you do about this? I don't know what you would do. Well, where would you begin? Right now, that means, right, all among us, and for all I know, there's some of these hybrids could be watching this podcast right now, along with regular people, right? And and thinking to themselves, ha ha ha, they'll never figure it out, they'll never stop us. And you know what? They're right, because I don't even know where you would begin. I don't know what we could possibly do about this. I really don't. The more you think about it, the scarier it is. And it's really a problem. And this could be one of the reasons. When you hear people like Lou Elizondo talking about how society is going to react to this, and this could be one of the concerns, is the fact that this is real, that they are doing this, and that somehow we have no control over it, and whatever they're doing it, and there's no stopping it. Because how are you going to stop it if they're able to control you mentally, right, and make you forget stuff, right, and they're among us and they look just like us? Then we're screwed. There's just no which way. There's no other way around it. I don't know where you would begin. And for all we know, maybe we just have to go with the flow, I guess. We just have to accept it. I mean, this is what's happening. Maybe it's been going on for centuries and we just don't realize it. Maybe that's who we are. Maybe that's what we are. Maybe that's another thing we need to start wondering here, is maybe we are all just a product of a hybridization program. How do we not know? How do we know one way or the other? We really don't. I mean, when you really think about this, right, we don't know, right? I mean, we started recording history at a certain point, and we've maintained recording history for all this time. But really, what the hell was going on way before all of this, right? How do we get from point A to point B? We don't really have all those answers. We don't know. For all we know, this could have been going on for millennia, and we're just starting to realize right now what the story is. That could be it, and we're just not even the tip of the iceberg yet. But if this is true, and say this is new, right? Say this hybridization program is, just started in the 1920s, 30s, or 40s, right? Is there anything we could do to stop it, or are we finished as a species? Are we done? Are we going to be absorbed by whatever this alien race is at some point, and they are going to take complete control? Are we being controlled by them right now? Is this narrative? Are they the ones in control of the narrative? You have to wonder about that too. I mean, isn't it better if this is true, right? Isn't it better that we all know about it? I mean, think about this. I would have to imagine it is. I know, yeah, there's going to be some people who freak out, but if this is true, isn't it better that we all know this, and maybe we could try to figure something out to identify the ones that aren't real humans or full humans, that might have some sort of agenda against the human race that they're going to use against us at some point in the future? Like, how would you figure? Don't you think it'd be better if all of us knew about this, so then we could try to figure out some sort of a process to weed out the ones who are here that have that don't really care about the future of humankind? Or for all we know, how do we know that some of these people aren't some of our politicians right now? Or, I mean, this is where it becomes problematic. How do we know? We don't know. It could be anybody out there. If this is true, that means there's some people that we're seeing on a regular basis that aren't really human whatsoever, and that they're half alien, half human. That's what they are. They're hybrids, just like David James Jacobs talked about. Maybe that's what's happening right now. Maybe there are people here sprinkled in throughout society who aren't really full-grown human beings whatsoever. No, a lot of their development started in some test tube in an alien spacecraft, and then they were let loose on the world, and they were trained to conform to our society by some hapless abductees, and now they're out there and about, and they're making a name for themselves. For all we know, how do we know? It becomes very, very problematic. This whole scenario involving hybrids among us becomes very, very problematic. I don't even know I don't even know if it's something that should be talked about. Maybe I shouldn't even be talking about it right now, because there's no answers. And what it could possibly lead to, right, is if it is true, right, then the human race is going to tear itself to pieces, because there's going to be suspicious minds all over the place wondering, I think this guy might be an alien. I think that woman over there 3 doors down, she might be an alien. The way she acts, everyone's going to be pointing fingers at each other. It would be a disaster. But unfortunately, this might be the reality that we're living in. This might be the reality, because here, let's face it, we know, right? We have the evidence now. We have the absolute proof, right, that shows that we're not alone, that these beings that people have been talking about for all these years, the greys, the insect creatures, right, we have evidence, we have proof that shows that they're real, that they are really here, just like people have been talking about, that people have reported over the decades, right? We know now, right, they're really here. There is something among us, right? And if that means they're really here, then those people were telling the truth. So that means that the hybridization program and the alien abduction stuff, all of that is probably true too. Just as just as all that stuff that David Grush has been talking about, and as well as Lou Elizondo and all these other figures, right, in this field have been talking about, that means that what they're probably talking about is true too. All of this stuff becomes true once you see that they have the proof right in front of your face and you know that it's real. Then that opens the door for all these other potentialities, including the fact that what's going on this planet right now is that the whole world, sprinkled throughout, are beings that look just like us, right, but are not. And they're waiting for something, for some cue from their alien masters above, right? For what? For the change. Well, David Jacobs talks about a change that a lot of these people, abductees, talk about. They learn about an impending change, some big change that's going to happen. And that change could mean the complete takeover of the human race by alien intelligence. That's what it could mean. And these hybrids sprinkled out throughout this globe right now are going to be called into action at some point to do something. What that is, we don't really know, but you have to start asking these questions once you understand that we're not alone and that a lot of these things are true potentially. In fact, what might be true terrifyingly is the fact that a lot of these creatures have their little spies all among us right now. Wow, if that's true, I mean, it's mind-blowing and it's hard to accept. I don't even like thinking about that. This is one part of this whole subject I really don't like to think about because I don't see any solution. I don't see any winning in this situation. I feel like we're doomed. If that's the case, like, it's just a matter of time then, right? We're doomed if that is true. But here's what I do know is true is that there is something here. There's no doubt about it now. No doubt about it. In fact, a lot of us had our own experiences. Like myself, I had my own experiences. I encountered one of these beings, right? No doubt about it, right? There was no question about it. Whatever I encountered was not human, and it was intelligent, whatever it was, when I was a kid. And I saw one of these craft up close and personal, so I know personally for a fact that they're here. And plus now all of us should know for a fact that there's something here based on the evidence that has been presented over the past 8 or 9 months here, as well as in other venues. So we're not alone. There's no question about it. And when with that in mind, then you have to consider the possibility that David M. Jacobs is correct and that right now on this globe are a lot of people that look like people but aren't people, and they're just waiting and biding their time for what? For what? Or is this how the takeover works? It just continues like this, until it's completed. Maybe that's the whole game. They just keep doing this, keep spreading out, keep mating, right, until the whole world is completely absorbed. And there's alien DNA mixed in with human DNA. Is there any way to figure this out using our science right now? Could we figure out who's an alien and who's not by doing DNA tests? Is that even possible? Or would these hybrids be too smart to allow that to happen? They probably are too smart to allow something like that to happen. But how do we figure out who's who on this planet if it is the case? And do we even try to figure out who's who? If it is the case, I don't know. Or do we just sit back and take it and just let nature take over, or whatever the course is? We just ride the course out, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just the way things are. Who knows? There's a lot of question marks with this scenario, but unfortunately, it's one of the things that we all need to think about because this could be what's happening here. This planet could be slowly getting taken over by these creatures via this hybridization program, and it's just a matter of, I don't know, a couple of centuries maybe until we're all just mixed in. We're all one big bunch. That could be what's happening. I don't know. What do they do when they do meet that critical mass, when they hit the critical mass of enough? What's enough to the aliens? How many hybrids need to be out there before they figure, okay, that's enough. Let's take over now. Is that how it is? We can only wonder, right? We can only wonder about this, speculate about it. That's about it. But the bottom line is that this could be real. And we know it could be real, particularly now, because we actually have the proof that shows that these things are real, these creatures are real, and if they're doing what these abductees say they're doing, taking sperm, eggs, creating hybrids, creating hybrid babies, having the abductees care for the babies sometimes after they're born, and then they're placed. Some of these are turned into hybrids that look just like people, and they're set out into the world. I mean, if that's all true, what do we do? I don't know. It's a very, very tough question, but the reality is it's something we should be talking about. It needs to be talked about. I don't have any answers for this. I really don't, because this is one aspect of this whole phenomenon in which I have trouble talking about. I just don't know what to say about it other than it scares me. I find it terrifying, but it could be what the reality is, and I don't like that at all. What do we do about it? Probably nothing, because I don't see what we possibly could do about it. And again, unless, of course, the gatekeepers have somehow managed to keep hybrids out of their secret control group, and that they are figuring some things out privately, secretly, to combat this. Maybe that's what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe that's part of the reason for the cover-up. You would hope so. I doubt it, though. I think it's probably more of a money kind of thing. I think they're more interested in reverse engineering these things, these recovered crafts, and I don't know if they're paying too much attention to what the aliens are doing to the human race, or why they're even here, why they're interested in our planet. I mean, like Jacobs pointed out, there would be three. If they wanted to take over, there'd be three ways of doing it, right? They would either destroy our civilization, right? They didn't do that. They didn't come right out and destroy our civilization. No, that's not what's happened or what's happening. Two, they could have just come right out and say, look, we're from another world. We're way more technologically advanced than you are. We're taking over, and you're either going to be with us or against us. Whatever the case, it doesn't matter to us. But we're taking over this planet. They didn't do that. And then the third option was to do it clandestinely, and that's what they've been doing. That's the option that they have chosen, because obviously they want to be secretive. They don't want people to know about them, and they use invisibility and cloaking technology to hide themselves from us. Obviously, we're starting to catch on now, finally, right? After all these years, all these different witnesses for all these different decades talking about what they experienced, and nobody wants to believe them. Oh, you don't have any evidence. Well, now we do have the evidence, and there's no denying it. We know that these aliens are real, and we know that they're really here. And what are they up to? Are they up to what David Jacobs is talking about? I sure hope not, but he's the one who studied it. I didn't, you didn't, he did, and that's what his conclusion was, is that there is a hybrid race here among us, and who knows what they're up to? Who knows what they're planning on doing? What their final agenda entails? We don't know. We can speculate, but I would have to guess that it's probably not good for the human race. Anyway, moving on, I want to talk about some of the recent polls on Spotify. And I also want to point out, today I was on a show along with Scott Roeder, a show called Surviving the Survivor on YouTube, and the host Joel said he's going to let us know when he uploads the show, and he has a large following on YouTube. Surviving the Survivor he has well over 130,000 people that subscribe to his channel, and that episode with Scott Roeder and I should be on sometime between Christmas and New Year's, and so I will I'll let you guys know about that when the time comes, when the video was released. I thought we had a pretty good show earlier today. Anyway, getting into the most recent polls. Okay, for the episode New Jersey drone search results / are aliens mimicking our aircraft, there's more votes now with this one. It was up to 71. The question was, do you believe it's possible that aliens are mimicking our technology, and that is the answer to the drone mystery? 71 votes so far. 24 people, or 33.8%, say no, while 47 people, or 66.2%, say yes. I agree with the majority. I think it's possible. I think these beings could do whatever they want. I think they could outdo us. I think they could trick us in all sorts of ways. Yes, I do think it's possible. Do I think that's what's happening? Does that explain it? I don't know about that. Like I've talked about before, it could be some kind of subterfuge. Maybe all of the sightings of orbs recently in the skies caused the governments, the United States government, the United Kingdom, and other places in the world, to send up drones as some sort of subterfuge, perhaps. That could be what's going on, or it could be as some sort of deterrent to whatever the orbs are up to. I don't know. But I do believe it's possible. I think these aliens could definitely mimic anything that we have. I'm sure of it. And then for the episode 15 Explanations for Dronegate, I asked this question. Have you seen any large car-sized drones hovering in the sky during the past year? 52 votes so far. 7 people, or 13.5%, say yes, while 45 people, or 86.5%, say no. I have to go along with the majority on this one because, as I previously reported, I did see a large drone just recently on my way back from New Jersey on an interstate highway. I saw one hovering next to the highway over a residential area, and it was a large car-sized drone, and it looked like a drone, and it would look like a very big one. So yes, some people have seen them, and I am one of them. Okay, for the episode, it's not just drones. People are seeing orbs and other weird objects in the skies everywhere. I asked this question: is there a connection between the recent drone activity and orb sightings? 48 votes so far. 10 people, or 20.8%, say no, while 38 people, or 79.2%, say yes. I agree with the yeses on this one because, I agree with the yeses on this one. Yeah, I think that they do have something to do with each other. I one way or another, I don't know exactly what that way is, but I think that it has something to do with the alien presence, and I believe the alien presence is behind the orbs. So yes, and I think the drones are sent up there for some reason. Whether they're theirs or ours, I think they're probably more likely ours. And what the purpose is for them being there, like I said before, it could be subterfuge, it could be as a deterrent, and who knows, there could be other reasons. I just don't know. We can't even imagine. Okay, for the episode, establishment hacks blame the public's stupidity for UFO and drone sightings. For that episode, I asked this question: why do so many members of the establishment media elect to ignore the hard evidence that proves there's an alien presence on Earth? 26 votes so far. Okay, this was 7 different choices here. 0 people said some are hybrids, so people aren't going for the some are hybrids selection. That was the one I just presented. I just said, is it possible that some people within the government might be hybrids? I don't know. Put it this way. Again, I know that 0 people voted for this, and I don't think I would have voted for this one either. But the possibility is there, right? I mean, if this alien civilization is creating a hybrid race, and some of them, like Jacobs calls hybrids, look just like us, how do we know if some of them haven't infiltrated? All sorts, government, perhaps mainstream media outlets. How do we know? If that's the case, if that's real, how crazy as it sounds, because it sounds crazy to me, and I don't even know where to begin with it, then how would you know if they look just like anybody else? You wouldn't know. And if they have some sort of a mental edge on us, right, then they're probably going to be able to get past the guards, in a lot of different situations, right? And no one's going to know the better. So that's something to think about, is that one. So I think that it's possible that some are hybrids, even though 0 people so far say so. Okay, 1 person, or 3.8%, say access concerns. Well, access concerns meaning access to, the Pentagon, for instance. I mean, I believe Stephen Greenstreet, the reporter from the New York Post, I think that he enjoys his access to the Pentagon. He gets Susan Gold whenever he wants to on the phone to give him an answer. And so, yeah, that one of the reasons could be the access, and I definitely think that does play a part sometimes. Okay, 3 people, or 11.5%, say laziness. That's why a lot of members of the establishment media ignore the hard evidence. Could be, they're just lazy. It could be that they just, I'm not interested. It doesn't do anything for them, so they're just lazy about it. And then another 3 people, or 11.5%, say stupidity. Yes, it could be that some people are just stupid about this, and they just can't imagine it, and they don't even bother, and they're just dumb to it, and they're not interested because of their own stupidity. 4 people, or 15.4%, say they're brainwashed. It could be that some of them are brainwashed. I mean, I think a lot of people are definitely brainwashed. The stigma has done a good job of brainwashing people against this reality over the decades. So yes, it could be that they're brainwashed. They believe that it's silly to think that. They don't understand why is it. They don't ever question why is it so. Why do I think it's so silly? right? They never really sit back and question it because it's really not silly. When you really think about it, it's really not silly. One look at the night sky on a clear night and you see all those stars, you realize it's not silly to think that we're being visited by potential beings from other worlds. It's not silly whatsoever, but that's because of the propaganda over the decades. Some people are brainwashed into thinking it's silly. It's silly. Okay, let's see what else here. 6 people, or 23.1%, say it's money. That yes, money is exchanging hands, and money speaks very loudly to some people. And they'd rather take a few $1,000 in the bank, in the old bank account, and just provide a bunch of nonsense reporting to the public. Why not do that? It's a lot easier, right? Oh yeah, okay, it's all silly. I'll write a story talking about how silly it is. Yeah, give me the money, no problem at all. I'll take it. Yeah, that's how some people are, no question about it. Okay, and then majority of people, 9 or 34.6%, say other. So there could be other reasons why so many members of the establishment media elect to ignore the hard evidence. Yeah, there's other reasons. Some of them could be some of the reasons that some of the people here that might have voted on this might be thinking to themselves because they're right. You know, because I do get some people on comment a lot that don't believe in this phenomena whatsoever, but they have. It seems like they're very interested in commenting on my podcast. You know, for some reason, I don't know. If you're not interested in something, why do you even bother? Why even bother? But that's just how some people are. What are you going to do? Some people, they pretend that they're not interested in it, but they really are, and that's just the way it is. What are you going to do? Anyway, I want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.